Hi everybody, I'm Julie from the Santa Lucia Conservancy, and I'd like to read you a story. It's called Woodpecker Wham, and the author is April Pulley Sayer, and illustrations by Steve Jenkins. I have my own story about woodpeckers. I raised one, so this is a special book for me. And after we read it, I'm going to show you some of what woodpeckers are doing and tell you my story. This book shows all different kinds of woodpeckers. There are many. This particular one that they're showing here is a flicker. We have them here. They like to spend a lot of time on the ground, oddly enough, and they eat ants. So not all woodpeckers eat the same food. Here's our flicker. They have a beautiful, like, black half moon. And if you ever find a feather, the middle part, the shaft, is bright orange. Swoop and land, hitch and hop. Shred a tree stump, chop, chip, chop. This woodpecker is called a pileated woodpecker. They live up in the mountains and they make huge holes in trees. They're one of our biggest woodpeckers. Instant message, tap, 1, 2, bonk, bonk, bonk. Now back to you. They actually communicate with each other by tapping on trees. Early insects, click and crawl, flick and flake to find them all. Ooh. Look what's here on the tree. Who eats leaves? That looks like a caterpillar. Spring sap rises. Who will drill? Sapsucker, sticky bill. We have sapsuckers here. It's a kind of a woodpecker. They make a row of small holes. It's almost like they have a ruler. And when they come back, there's sticky sap that fills up the hole, and they sip the sap. Plus they eat the bugs that get stuck. Fan those feathers, shower clean, sunbathe dry, then oil and preen. A rain shower, drying out their leaves. They use their beak to clean their feathers and zip them all together. Raise that crest, bob and bow, flash those wings, it's time to wow. Woodpeckers, when they get excited, they can actually put up their top feathers, and they can chase away other woodpeckers or just be showing off. Start a home, bill to bark, dig it, deep and dark. Wonder what they're making a big hole for. Wedge it, sledge it, wham by wham, clear those chips, slam, slam, slam. Woodpeckers have the most amazing body to make huge holes. Hawks a hunting, drop, stop, hide, quiet on the other side. He's hiding underneath the tree branch so the predator doesn't see him. I'm going to tell you a story about my pet woodpecker. He used to do that when airplanes went overhead. Cherries, berries, pluck and feed, leave a dropping full of seed. Oh my gosh, you guys, here's a flicker eating a cherry. And then when he poops, he's going to leave a seed behind that can grow a new tree. Tap, tap, tap. Where? Look and see. Crick, crick, crack. 6 chicks break free. Baby woodpeckers. When I found my woodpecker, he had just come out of his egg and fallen out of his nest, and he had no feathers. Hungry mouths and begging calls. Hunt, hop, pick. Quick, feed them all. Is the flicker collecting food for the babies. Fledglings fly. Oops. Fledglings flop. Chase and feed. When will it stop? The mom or dad woodpecker is very busy. The babies are learning to fly. Fluffy fledglings now are grown. Wicka, wicka on their own. That's what they do. They spread their wings out and they make a lot of noise. There's the woodpecker family. Fall is falling. Acorns plunk. Pry seeds, pull seeds, fill a trunk. Oh, here we have our woodpecker storing the acorns in holes in the tree. And that's happening all around us right now. It's the time for woodpeckers to collect acorns. Leave that whole tree, start one new. Who will move in after you? Bill to bark, slam, 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 chip and chop, woodpecker wham. You guys, they really do this. They are the carpenters of the forest. And that's the end of our story. Now, we're going to show you a lot more pictures about a particular woodpecker called an acorn woodpecker. And then I'm going to tell you the story of Woody, my pet woodpecker. Do you hear the birds in the forest around us? Where there are trees, there are birds. So we have a couple of willow trees here on our trail that have been used by sapsuckers in the past. See the rows of holes? They're like evenly spaced and very straight. So the hole is made through the bark into the living part of the tree where the sap is, and they'll come back and literally sip the sap and eat the bugs that are stuck. A sapsucker is a type of a woodpecker. Woodpeckers are a very special kind of bird. No matter what kind of woodpecker you are, they all have these special characteristics. They have special feet. They have 2 toes that go forward and 2 back instead of a perching foot with 3 toes and 1 toe back. They use that to hold on really, really tight to a tree, not just to climb up and down the tree, but to hang on so tight when they're pounding with that sharp beak that they don't fall off. Look at the beak on this pileated woodpecker and his feet holding on. You might not know this, but woodpeckers' beaks never stop growing. That's because they often break them off when they're pecking on wood and maybe other things too. And do you think they get a headache from all that pounding? Well, sometimes they do, but they have a special kind of a skull that protects their brain and a really strong neck. But even so, people say that sometimes they get brain damage from all that pounding. Perhaps most amazing is that they have the longest tongue of any bird. Their tongue is so long it wraps around the back of their skull and it has muscles in it. It's pointed and sometimes it has barbs like a fish hook so they can pull bugs out of the bark. Some of them have little brushes with sponges they can soak up tree sap, and they all have sticky saliva that helps them grab their prey and hold on to their food. So here's a woodpecker who's found a bug. We know that others will make holes and sip the sap. Some woodpeckers eat berries, especially in the summer and fall. And we know our acorn woodpecker eats acorns, just like his name. Acorn woodpeckers are the biggest talkers of the woodpecker world. And the reason for that is they live in a big, noisy family. I'll be playing lots of woodpecker sounds as we talk about them more. They can have as many as 15 adult woodpeckers in their family group, and that can be as many as 3 females who are actually sisters, and 6 males, and then some helper birds that have grown up in that family group. And they greet each other as they come and go. Something really funny is that the 3 females that are nesting together have to lay their eggs at the same time. If someone lays an egg earlier, it's thrown out of the nest. It's called egg tossing. So until all 3 females lay eggs at the same time, there's a lot of egg tossing going on. The entire family helps raise the babies, and there's something else they do as a group. They create a place to store acorns. They can make as many as 10,000 holes in a tree, and that tree is called their granary. It's kind of like where you store your food in your kitchen. And they all help make holes. It takes about 20 minutes to make 1 hole. So over the years, they can have as many as 10,000 little holes just the size for an acorn in 1 tree. They stay close to their granary to protect their acorns. Who might want to steal one? Well, maybe a gray squirrel, maybe a blue jay. And so they have to make sure there's a really good tight fit, and they will actually move acorns if they shrink and get a little smaller and find a better hole with a tighter fit. And since this is the season of acorns growing in the fall, it is also the time for acorn woodpeckers to be harvesting. Here's a group being tried to be chased off by a blue jay collecting acorns. It's really fun to find acorn woodpeckers whenever you go for a walk. I was out at Garland Park in the eucalyptus grove, and look what I found in some dead eucalyptus trees. Quite an adventure watching the acorn woodpeckers at work. Okay, there's the sound of greeting between 2 acorn woodpeckers. And they're doing their work. They're storing their acorns, and then all winter and spring they will eat those acorns, and they'll eat the bugs that get in the acorns. And now I want to tell you a story about an acorn woodpecker that I want to be the mother of. A long time ago, I only have a few pictures, but here's a picture showing what he looked like when I found him. There was only one, not 5. But he had no feathers and he was not very pretty, and I actually did not know what kind of bird he was. I found him on the ground under an oak tree, and I could not see any place to return him to his nest, so I took him home. Now, we should always take a baby bird or animal to a wildlife center for them to raise it and return it to the wild. But at that time, the SPCA couldn't take him, and so they told me how to take care of him myself. Baby woodpeckers need protein, not plants, so we fed him raw hamburger at first, and then mealworms and dog food. His feet were huge and ugly, and he had no feathers. The first feathers that grew were the red feathers on his head. Like any baby creature, we had to feed him every couple hours. It was a lot of work, but he grew really fast. We quickly found out that those red feathers on his head were one way of showing when he was unhappy. He would stand those feathers up and make a really loud noise. He didn't like our dog, so he would make a loud sound and actually fly down and attack him. But he loved my family, and he would make little baby sounds and crawl inside my shirt and poke his head out and make little kind of soft cooing sounds. I'd have to say he was one of the smartest pets I've ever had. He knew lots of tricks. He could fly in the air and grab a rubber band out of the air. He could shred a cigarette that he stole from somebody's pocket. And when an airplane went overhead and he saw it out the window, he would scramble down and hide because he thought it was a hawk. And remember that woodpeckers have really long, strong tongues. He used to stick his tongue in my ear and just wiggle it around looking for a bug. It felt so funny. And something a little painful that he did was if he was sitting, for example, on my shoulder and there was a seam where the shirt was sewed together, he would start whacking away with his beak like it was a crack in a tree and he was looking for a bug. He was also really curious, as many intelligent creatures are. One night we were fixing tomato sauce and he flew to the edge of the pot and fell in. We got him out really quickly though. Well, being a woodpecker, he just couldn't help himself. He really wanted to store food. We didn't have a granary for him, so instead he would take his dog food or mealworms and store them all over our house. And that was always interesting. We had a lot of repairs to do when we moved. And this wasn't my woodpecker, but look what somebody did. Somebody gave a woodpecker a pumpkin, and they made holes, and they stored them. There's such a thing as called instinct, which means it's just in your brain that you're supposed to do this, and there's no way you're going to change that behavior. Well, Woody was curious. Here's a not very good picture of my woodpecker in a kitchen cupboard, checking out what was what. I learned from living with a woodpecker that birds are incredibly intelligent and have observational skills that we just can't even imagine, the things they see and hear and remember. Here are a few more pictures of Woody hanging out with me, on me. I'd come home at the end of the day after working and he would climb in my shirt and make his baby sounds and fly him out around my room. He was as much a pet as any creature I've ever had, and by far the most interesting. But it's very important that we all understand that wild creatures belong in the wild. It wasn't a great life for Woody. He didn't get to be with his woodpecker family out in the wild, but we did the best we could, considering that he didn't have a whole lot of options, having fallen out of his nest as a just hatched baby. So I hope you've enjoyed learning about and seeing Woody the woodpecker, and I hope you get a chance to watch them out in the wild and enjoy them and learn about them. And thanks for joining me today. Bye.